I got 8:31.
Showtime.
Huh?
Showtime.
Showtime. We call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to order for Monday, October 20th. And we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 13th and 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving right along. Meet with the courthouse maintenance supervisor. That'd be you, Dave. Where'd Dave go? Oh, there he is.
He's right back here behind me.
Well, he was over there.
Yeah, I didn't want to do over it.
Okay.
Would you guys, figure out, we're gonna do the porch, we're not gonna do the porch?
Believe it's on the agenda. Number 2, to discuss porch remodel at county attorney's office. Was that your report for the day?
Well, it's kind of why I'm here, and I wanted to know, are you gonna need, you want me here when you discuss Jackson Point later, maybe?
Well, you would be an interested party, so I guess, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll leave you come back in about an hour, so what are we gonna do with the porch?
Okay, well, then we'll move on to number 2. Discuss and consider porch remodel at county attorney's office. Speaking for myself, don't think we have a lot of choice because there is the ultimately potential for somebody to get hurt. So,
Yeah, somebody to get hurt and us to have a big lawsuit because we didn't fix it.
remember you told me, but I don't remember what you told me, the length of time it'd be down.
3 days. That's, and the hope is that we can start it, on that Monday before Veterans Day.
Okay.
Because, we're closed on that Tuesday, so that would just, which is, Veterans Day, so that'd just be, 2 operational days over there. And that should work for you guys, shouldn't you?
We'll make it work, however.
You know, it's easier to schedule something beginning of the week than it is to, you know, you try and do it in the middle of the week, and the next thing you know, you got bumped to the following week, so our timeline is pretty short on this thing as far as getting it done.
There's a second entrance, we can be flexible, just adapt and overcome.
When you say if you need a handicap accessibility, I guess you have to be over here.
Yeah, or we can come outside, weather's still nice.
So, the estimate, or whatever you want to call it, cost is $15,096.80. Requesting $7,548. Well, half of it, I guess you say upfront, and the remaining balance on completion of $7,548.
Yeah. The other portion of this, we still, you know, we're assuming we know what we're gonna find under there. We could be wrong, so. If it's a call that has to be made at the time, I'll go ahead and make the call, but,
So you mean it could be less?
probably not.
Just thought I,
If you had to guess, what would it be?
yeah, okay. So do we have a motion to accept the,
So moved.
okay,
South second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so you can send them a signed copy of this and, that's right?
Well, I guess there was no play, no, yeah, there it is.
It's requesting a signature on a paper page.
You can
Next
sign.
date.
If the chairman need to sign this. 2.5.
Here.
Yeah, we got about an hour before you can be back here
No, no, we're good. Dwayne?
for Jackson Point.
I'm sorry, what?
You're not gonna discuss Jackson Point the next hour, are you?
Possibly, yeah.
No.
Well, actually, not for at least a half hour, probably. Okay. Well, I love it when a plan comes together. No, I just-
I'd like to thank Chauncey for saying the weather's still been nice,
Yeah,
so
okay.
that's,
So in other words, what you're saying is if it goes south, it's his fault?
we'll blame Chauncey, yeah. See, we finished up the patchwork in Batavia, Norris did. Now they're just, this week they're working on 240th between Ash and Libertyville. Should be today and tomorrow, they should be done with that, and then we'll have that project all wrapped up. The crews are working on a 8-foot pipe replacement on Pine Boulevard on the level B section up north of, what is it, 130th, 136th. There's a 8-foot culvert that was starting to collapse. We kind of put it off to the end of the year because it's fairly low traffic, but we wanted to get it done before winter. Then we've also got a crew, got a pipe work on Stockport Road down towards the south end of the county that the bottom's rotted out of it, so we'll put some slurry in that to fill that back in. The rest of the pipe looks fairly decent from what we can tell. We didn't crawl that low because I wouldn't do it, so I won't ask one of the guys to.
You're probably one of the smallest ones out there.
Yeah,
so
when I used to
drastic.
survey, I used to be the guy who went down pipe like that, and it's, you know, it's tight for a human, but raccoons can fit in those just fine. Just always kind of a hair raising exercise. Other than that, we're doing some total patching and hauling some rock. And working on equipment, and we're getting a list together, kind of evaluating our options for the next budget year for what we need for equipment. I know it seems early, but by the time you start getting pricing and get our budget together, so we've got something for you guys to start considering next spring. This is the time we need to be looking at it. Right now, we're looking at a dump truck. We like a mid-sized trailer because we've got a really big trailer, we've got a really small trailer. Really small trailer's too small for the mini hoe. The big trailer's kind of overkill. And the mini hoe and the skid loader would both be able to utilize a mid-sized trailer, or if we needed them both in separate locations, that would allow us to have it a one-trip thing instead of having to shuttle one and then go back and shuttle another one to another location, but we'll see where the money comes in. I told the guys most likely a dump truck's going to be we will tap our budget. So I think the last one we got, I think, was $250,000. I'm pretty sure they have not gone down.
Probably not.
And that, you know, it was awful nice having the flexibility to buy rock this year without buying it, you know, because we didn't have that big hole for equipment in our budget. But next year, we're gonna have to, I think, pony up and get another dump truck, because our dream of finding decent parts machines for those Sterlings is not working out. Most of the ones we can find are in worse shape than ours and have the same wore out parts that we need. And so there's just not a lot of options on those. Going to turn in the plans for Libertyville Road today. If I could get the drafting system to cooperate with me. And Calhoun Burns will be turning in the plans for Grass Tree Avenue Bridge. also, so those will both be January letters. I think that's all I got. Thomas is doing paperwork and trying to get projects closed out.
Can I add to your report?
Well, certainly, sir.
We went around and seeded where you had replaced bridges last week. I see there was some. Is it hydro seeding, that
Yeah.
green stuff?
Yeah,
I was intended to ask you if I needed to go seed that or if you was gonna get to it. I appreciate that being done.
oh, they did get it.
Yeah.
Is grass growing?
Well, they just put it on like, what, Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, they've been working on it off and on all spring, all fall here.
Well, we got an inch of rain out my way, so that should be a plus to get it going.
Well, hopefully it was enough to soak it in, but not so much to wash it away.
Should have been about perfect.
You don't have it hard to tell them it's just green paint, but they'll figure it out later.
Well, my wife looked at that, she says, well, there's grass growing. I says, look at the color of that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So that looks better than newspaper brown, which it is without the dye.
Is that what it is newspaper?
A lot of it's kind of,
Is seed-
it's kind of a pulp.
Is seed mixed with that then? Okay.
Yeah, it's I don't remember how many pounds of seed goes into a tank load, but supposedly it's calibrated so you get your right number of pounds per acre. You spray it on. It has an agitator in there to keep everything in suspension. Yep. I like straw better. You know, it just always seems to work better on projects that I have, but the hydro seeding is a lot more cost effective. Yeah. If you've got a decent grass seed mix, it works just fine. I know a lot of contractors I'd accused of not putting seed in their hydro seed mix because it never seemed to let grass grow for them.
It'll be pretty sparse the first year.
Yeah, our crew does a pretty good job of getting grass to grow. So some of the places they did earlier in the year have already greened up. So.
And good, good.
And the grass seed on Libertyville Road that the bridge contractor did has turned out real nice. At least the ryegrass has come up. That's usually a good start if you can get the annual rye to pop up. That kind of protects everything else, so it'll come up.
We won't have any, or I should say, we won't, everything. Salt and good supply and everything as far as being able to buy it.
Yeah, we contract the salt, good gosh, back in July. We use the IDOT's bid system, where we submit as part of their bid package. As compared to a lot of the larger counties with more metro configuration, we don't use a lot of salt, so we wouldn't get real favorable pricing on the open market without having the advantage of hitting it with the DOT's. As it is, I would went up about $5 a ton, just 5%. Last year's 105. This year, I think it's 110.
Done?
Uh-huh.
Where do you get that from or they deliver?
They deliver. We get it quoted in our yard. Then we put it in our shed. And we give them, I think we're supposed to give them a week's notice on when we're ready for it. Right now, we're pretty well full. Because the last handful of years, or the last couple of years, we've used our annual supply to refill at the end of the season, as opposed to going through the summer empty. And so this year's salt will be last year's pricing, next year's salt will be this year's pricing. I don't know what to say, just a whole lot. That's just kind of the way it worked out. And then if we have a bad year where we really need a lot of salt, we have the ability to have 2 years worth of salt and go into the spring empty. we haven't had that type of year yet, where I just moved purchased and that.
Things are not looking good for you, Chauncey.
Then we mix it, make 3-to-1 with sand. Seems to work out all right for our items.
Do we do any calcium chloride ahead of time?
Not anymore.
Not
We
anymore.
we did for a while. And I don't know, is that really providing a lot of benefit? And it's awful hard on your bridge decks.
And vehicles.
And, and pavements in general, but, it does, I think it does a great job, but for the traffic that we have, I don't know if you get it worked around enough. Whereas, once you start applying moisture to it, it doesn't, when you have a high traffic road, you kind of get splash up and it keeps working around, whereas ours, with the lower volume roads, I think a lot of it ends up washing off onto the shoulder because you don't have the vehicles keeping it moving. That might just be an old man's theory.
Anything else for Dwayne? Our ambulance director is not here. I remember he said he was gonna be gone this week.
Yeah,
Cause I know they went out early this morning, so. Okay. Then, meet with Don Revelinsky.
Hi, folks.
Come on down.
I just thought I'd give a little report on the economic impact of Symmetry Music Festival and answer any questions you guys have. I know there was someone here last week talking about it. I'll just read a brief statement from our report that we generated now that the numbers are all in. The 2025 Symmetry Music and Arts Festival held October 2nd through 4th south of Libertyville welcomed over 1,200 attendees, along with 100 staff, 75 volunteers, and 200 artists and entourage members. Now in its second year, Symmetry has quickly become a major cultural and economic event for Jefferson County. The festival sold out local hotels, filled Airbnbs, and generated significant revenue for area businesses. Based on modeled visitor spending and economic multipliers, Symmetry produced an estimated $1.2 million in total local economic output, supporting the equivalent of 18 local jobs at $65,000 per year. Any questions for me before I move on? I know there was a gentleman last year, Tim Nelson. I don't know if Tim's here today.
I'm right here.
How you doing? Well, that's next week. I wanted to make sure that, you guys knew exactly what we were doing, what we're planning. And I wanted to address Tim's concerns because I know he probably had a couple of nights where he didn't sleep well. Yeah, any questions before I move on?
Do you folks produce, I don't mean to ask, but do you folks produce any other places that you have festivals?
Music festivals, not specifically, no. We've done like indoor events in certain metropolitan areas around the country, Denver. We do have like a series of events that we throw throughout Iowa and the Midwest, sort of that like lead up to, it's like the road to Symmetry is what we call it, lead up to the event to sort of generate buzz in the local areas in Des Moines, Iowa City, Ames, Sioux City, Omaha, Minneapolis, stuff like that. But as far as actual festivals, we only have the one festival.
I apologize to the board for interrupting. I just was here.
No problem.
Oh, that's fine. Well, we do have on today's agenda to discuss and consider an event permit, which would directly impact whatever the final permit would look like if the board decides to implement one. But there's a couple of concerns I have. I'm a little concerned, well, let me ask,
Yeah.
let me start this way. So do you allow minors?
No,
So parents with kids have to have their kids somewhere else or whatever, or
Correct.
camping and that sort of thing.
18 and over. Yeah.
And how do you police the potential drug problem?
We have security checks. They're fairly robust. There's only one entrance to get into the campgrounds. There's security there at all times. If you want to get in, you have to show, your ticket, and then you get a car search. Most people are coming into, who are going to camp, are going to drive in. So there's car camping, but then there's also like regular tent camping, and you can park your car. We also offer a shuttle service from Fairfield where people can just leave their car here in town and then get driven over. But if you want to come into the festival, you get checked. I drove in even with the all access badge. They still checked my trunk, checked my back seat. They asked me to open my glove compartment, all that. We ended up finding a gentleman who brought a firearm into the festival. It's open carry state. You can bring a firearm wherever you want, but it's technically against the festival rules. So we got him onto the festival grounds until he voluntarily surrendered it to law enforcement and picked it up when he was done with the event. So that's the sort of thing that we do. We take it very seriously.
So you said law enforcement, are you talking about our sheriff's department?
Yes, sir.
And who handles the security in terms of, since it's an event currently being held in the county, I assume you call law enforcement come, but you have
Mhm.
on-site security as well.
We do. We had 25 on-site security. They're going 24 hours a day, so usually there was a shift of people sleeping. We also had a medical team that was on site. Folks who were specifically have expertise in the kinds of things that music festivals across the country have seen, such as overdose and that sort of thing.
Which leads me back to my other question, which is a concern of mine. Because especially if there's fentanyl / opioids there, but more specifically fentanyl, people are very clever in how they get that stuff in.
You're not wrong.
And other people who aren't even in the, what's the term I want to use, that have no intentions of imbibing and somehow or another be, I don't want to use the word contaminated, or choice of words, but affected by it. I've known police officers who pulled over vehicles and just simply stuck their head in the car to see and were overcome by it. And so, is law enforcement involved in that, or you just do medical and don't call anybody?
Anytime there's a medical event, we would call law enforcement. We had one in 2024. There was a gentleman who overdosed. We have teams of folks they're a harm reduction team. Some are volunteers, some are paid. They roam the festival grounds 24 hours a day, looking for people who are passed out essentially or not doing well. One of our volunteers at around 4 a.m. on the final night last year found a gentleman. He was on one of the couches, the outdoor couches, and he wasn't responding. She had Narcan on her, so she gave him Narcan. She brought him to the medical tent, where medical radioed us, and we immediately called the police and an ambulance to come through. So anytime there's an event, we're not in the business of, we're in the business of people having a good time, in a way that is conducive to staying alive, and having a medical event is sort of the opposite of what we're aiming for. But nonetheless, these sorts of things do follow larger events like this, especially as ticket sales go up.
Well, I will also tell you, and the other two to jump in here too, from my perspective, frankly, I'm completely sympathetic to the residents that live around it that
Mhm.
are not particularly enamored with the loud music and the thump and whatnot, and I don't think it's the 4 o'clock in the morning thing, as much as I think it's the volume that is associated with 4 o'clock in the morning or midnight
Sure.
or whatever, and I guess my question would be, and I can remember my daddy asking this question, but why the hell do you have to have the music so loud?
I hear
I
you.
mean, I cannot imagine that if you're standing in front of a stage, even with 1,200 people, and the music playing, that if somebody 4 miles away could hear it, you could turn the volume down so that the person 4 miles away couldn't hear it, but I guarantee that person standing in front of that stage is still there.
Yeah. So I will talk about last year and then I'll bring up this year and specifically Tim's concerns. I don't know if you heard it last year also. I'm guessing you probably did.
Yeah, I've heard it for years.
Okay.
As long as
I've
there's
I've only
something going on over
been
there.
doing this 2 years, so I don't know what's been going on before that. But specifically in addressing the sound point, last year we had a number of complaints. And we recognize that, we have to be good neighbors. The only way this is sustainable, the only way we're going to be able to continue to do this is if the locals are happy also. So this year we took matters, we elevated matters. We brought in someone who is an expert in acoustics. We deadened the sound to the side of the main stage, both sides of the main stage and behind. So if you went to either side of the stage or behind the stage, you could have a conversation just like this. It was not too loud. I mean, you could hear the music, but it wasn't like the sound was significantly deadened. You could barely hear the bass. I had artist managers coming up to me, panicking, saying that they didn't think that the sound was loud enough for their artists because they expect to play, in front of an audience with a decent amount of volume. And I had to walk them in front of the stage to help them understand that all of the sound was being directed just in the front, that there was no bleed to the sides and the back. So that was our biggest change from last year. Main stage shuts down at 1:30 a.m. There are some smaller stages that go later, but it was important to us to make sure, for the sake, the sanity of everybody, that we shut down the main stage, which is by far the loudest stage, by 1:30 at around bar close. That whenever the I guess the former Cider House folks were doing our bar sales, they're called Tomahawk Trading Company now. They wanted to shut down at 1:30, so we said, okay, we're done at 1:30. The side stages went a little bit longer. I believe they went until 3:30. One went till 3:30, one went till 4:30 on Saturday and also on Friday. And we were done by 3 on Thursday. But in terms of we are definitely cognizant of sound bleed to the different neighbors. So I'm quite certain Tim's house is directly in line with the main stage. Like if you create a line from where the stage is pointing, it will almost certainly pass over where Tim's house is. So for 2026, what we're looking to do is change the orientation of the stage. We did an excellent job with the sound bleed. We're going to do a survey and figure out where, if there's a way, a direction where there are no homes, that would be the most ideal scenario. But we're certainly where there are the least homes at the very least here, and make it so that there's, we're pointed at fewer folks. So we're doing our best. I know, this is generally a very quiet part of Iowa. Folks move to the country to enjoy that quiet. I'm sympathetic to that. There is a standing offer from the festival for any of the neighbors to go into a hotel for the weekends on us. I usually keep a few hotel rooms open just in case. And so if anybody, wants to get a good night's sleep and then come back in the morning, they're welcome to, and it won't cost them anything. That's not an ideal situation. Obviously the comforts of home are important. But And we're open to other ideas also, as far as mitigating sound. This is what we've been able to come up with so far.
Susan, Joe?
Yes. How well do you monitor the underage out in the crowd? Because I have talked to several that are underage that was there
We check IDs.
when they come through the gate.
In order to get your so the tickets that are purchased, we don't like send tickets in the mail. You have to pick them up at the box office. In order to pick them up at the box office, you got to show your ID. If you're underage, you're not allowed in. That's full stop from us.
So do you have security fence up to keep them out? Because
We do, yeah. The road, there's essentially two sections of the festival. One is camping, one is the actual like grounds where the music is playing and the vendors are, where you can buy food and whatnot. The road that leads into the event goes into the campgrounds. And there's parking over there, there's camping over there. And that's where you would get out of your car. And then there's a fence and one entrance, a single entrance that is policed by security at all times while the festival is operating. And there's a box office kind of close-ish to the entrance where you can pick up a wristband. In order to get a wristband, you have to show an ID. And the age is checked on that ID. It's an 18 and over event. If we found minors, we would have told them to go home.
do you, once they're in on there, do you check IDs at the festival or just at the gate?
Just at the gate, if they're over 21, they're given a second wristband that allows them to purchase alcoholic beverages.
So
I'm sorry, Joe, so even if they have a ticket, and what I was thinking was, so I'm obviously over 18.
Yes, sir.
So I go buy a couple tickets and I give one to Joe, who's 17 and a half, but he's got a beard and all this and that and whatnot, which a lot of them do.
Yeah.
You still check his ID at the gate?
Well, we have to verify he bought a ticket. Well, it's not a matter of.
well, if he gave me a ticket, I've got a ticket in my hand.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So if I go pick up 4 tickets.
I'll be very clear. I'm not the organizer of the box office or of the tickets. I was, I'll have to get back to you folks on that. I will ask that. I'll make a note here. I will ask that specific question and is an email okay? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the miners I was referring to came in across country. They didn't come in via a vehicle or anything. They basically slipped in the back way.
Okay. Oh, you
That's
mean
why-
they
Hoofed
got in
it,
illegally?
hoofed it in, yeah. How do you control that if they're in there and they're?
I mean, the whole area is fenced. I mean, there's barbed wire. It's not inconceivable to jump over barbed wire. I've jumped over barbed wire as a minor before. We do patrol it. We don't have enough folks it's a 20-acre property. We don't have enough folks to, essentially keep everyone out the whole time, but
Have you installed new fencing down there?
we certainly have, yeah.
Well, I was down there probably a week before it happened and I didn't see any new fencing.
Okay.
I talked to one of the groundskeepers. I was able to drive in and talk to one of the he said he was a groundskeeper
Okay.
and
I know a lot of
he was
activity
very
happened the
open and
week of.
talking to them.
Yeah.
Because
Dion, did you talk to Dion?
I do
Shorter
not,
gentleman, maybe 5'8".
I'm not gonna say
beard.
because, yeah, he had a beard,
Okay.
but I don't remember his name
That's fine.
honestly.
It was probably Dion if he was one of the
He had
groundskeepers.
he had a SUV there.
Okay.
Man.
Was he a younger gent or did he have a lot of, was it salt and pepper in the beard? That's okay.
He wasn't a young guy.
Okay.
I would say he was middle-aged,
Okay. All right.
so,
Yeah, that was probably Dion. He's one of the team leads.
okay.
We did put up, unfortunately, a lot of rush activity the last week, I will say. That led to a lot of dust, a lot of ground that and dust that went up into the air and was not positive for ticket buyers, unfortunately. Fencing did go up that last week.
So if I was to go back down there today, that fencing would still be up?
I believe so. Yeah.
Susie?
I guess I was just sitting here listening to everybody. And no matter how hard you try or how hard we think you should try,
Yeah.
there's always going to be things that happen.
Sure. Of course there are.
You know, it's too bad. I am concerned with the sound for the neighbors,
Mhm.
you know. It's, Don, it's a huge undertaking to try to keep at least 1,000 people behaving for a weekend.
Do you think you can keep the three of us?
I was gonna say that, Lee. I actually was gonna say that.
Great minds think alike.
God, don't write that down. Don't write that down. Okay, okay. But you know, I can see all sides here, but I like my sleep. I can't handle a combine across the road, combining till 1 in the morning without waking me up, but it's just part of life on a farm.
Close the window.
And you think that makes a difference, Joe? You're so wise. Anyway,
I'm sure Tim closed his windows, and I'm sure he could still hear the bass.
yeah, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I can say windows closed, air conditioning running, TV on. I can still hear it in my house and I live on the pavement. So I'm quite a ways
You're on Dowds?
east. I now live on the pavement that runs down to Dowds on.
I see,
Dowds Road.
I see.
You know, my neighbors, daughter and son-in-law and their family, are neighbors. They kind of live on a little bit of a hill and it's actually, had windows shaking. They can't get their 6-month, 4-year-old and 7-year-old to sleep. You know, it's just, it's, I hear what you're saying, that you're, you know, trying to take some action here, but I'm telling you from our end, it's not working. It's not making a difference.
Okay,
Don, can I ask you a question?
certainly.
Based on this conversation we're hearing, if you do this again, what could you change to make it better? Better for those folks.
For those folks,
Yeah.
we can, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll get your physical address and I'm gonna see where your house is located so that I can see if our stages are indeed pointed at you or if we have a larger problem.
It's
straight
right straight east of you. And I
So
think,
that's,
I
yeah,
think the way the creek runs down through there and sound, I think you underestimate how the sound travels.
I'm quite certain the sound travels a bit, especially the bass.
Yeah,
With those longer wavelengths. That definitely makes sense to me.
I've heard, someone saying they heard it in, Selma, which is west of Dowds. It's about halfway between Dowds and Eldon.
Okay.
So, I appreciate you sitting here and answering the questions and stuff. I mean, I do.
Sure.
We do have, like I said, on the agenda to discuss and consider event permits. And it isn't a finished product yet, as far as that part goes, but, we are considering that and just to be, you know, in the interest of full disclosure, honest upfront, whatever, we are looking at some ways within the permit process to mitigate noise.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person who I do not do noise well, I don't know, it's just I don't know if it had anything to do with Meniere's disease or whatever, but I don't do loud noises very well, so I can be very sympathetic to Terry, and I can never be sympathetic to Bob. As hard as I try, I can't be sympathetic to Bob, but it's just, I don't know, it's a Bob thing. But anyway, I appreciate all the effort that everybody puts in to make that work and it, you know, the revenue that's generated and all of that. I mean, those are, but I I think that there's a way that it can be accomplished. Still doing what you're doing. I don't think it's the number of people, and I am impressed with the efforts that you put forth to control some of the peripheral problems that could creep into those type of events. But I do think that the sound can be mitigated, and if no other way of mitigating it is you shut it off at a certain time. And I'm just gonna throw out midnight just for the sake of argument. That may not necessarily be what Terry wants to hear, but it's a sight better than 4 o'clock in the morning. What's that?
Yeah, I'm more concerned about what Tim wants than Terry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, you told me. No, never mind. Anyway, my point is that that's part of the process that we're looking at, that we're going through, and there's been enough of I don't want to use the term complaints, but I would rather use the term concern. Residents that live around the area have expressed concerns that, they're not wanting to eliminate the festival. They're just, at some point where you turn the TV off and you go to bed, so to speak. And so, anyway, that is next on the agenda to discuss and consider, and our assistant. Yeah, Bob.
He gave economic value and stuff there. And I hear those figures all the time. I'd like to know how you arrive at those figures.
Certainly.
Did you say that was
Total
over,
years ago.
over 2 million?
1.2 million.
1.2? Okay.
Yes, I use the Iowa Tourism and US Bureau of Economic Analysis models, which estimates daily spending for $225 for out of county visitors and per day, and $60 per day for in-county visitors.
Well, I went down to a convenience store, the probably the closest one, and they see no big increase in traffic.
In Libertyville or in
Yeah.
Fairfield?
Yeah. in
Okay.
Libertyville.
So
I made the comment that most of the people carry everything in and never leave the place.
Okay.
So you took these figures off of a website. You don't actually have figures of what it was in this county. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, and I do think it's reasonable to assume, being someone who has an RV and goes out a lot, we're self-contained, so it would be reasonable to assume that if you have an RV and you come to your site, that they do bring in their.
They bring in some things for sure. Yeah.
To that point, that means they buy it from somewhere.
I get it, and the guys are on the combine across the road from your house. No deal.
What do your tickets cost?
They vary depending on the time of year that you purchase them. They start at 140 for the loyalty buy, and they go up to around 190. I believe that was for last year.
Okay, I was just trying to factor that in because your number, that's $1,000 a person. Then for your 1,200 people that you have.
Not 1,000. Well, it depends on in county versus out of county.
1.2 million and 1,200.
I'd be happy to provide a more robust report if you
I was
like.
just trying to kind of get my head. around
Yeah,
that.
I will say that as someone who, I bought for the festival. I purchased the artists to come in, and I also did the artist hospitality for each day. We were worried about overbuying supplies, so each day I went to Walmart and Hy-Vee and everybody's to purchase items. By Saturday, you couldn't buy ice. And there was not a single bag of ice in this whole town that you could find. You'd have to fill it up at the place at 9th Street in Burlington in order to get ice. Their pallets of water were very low in Walmart and Hy-Vee. You could fill up gallons in everybody's in Hy-Vee, I believe, but as far as pallets of water went, so there were select items. There was a few other items like that were sold out or very close to sold out in this town. There was a lot of folks. I saw a lot of younger folks I didn't recognize at our restaurants that weekend. I was picking up meals for artists and staff. So people did leave the festival and come in, particularly because the music doesn't start until the afternoon. So usually in the morning, people wake up, they want a meal, they want to resupply, whatever, what have you. They'll come into town. And I will say from the Libertyville side, we have done a poor job partnering with Libertyville in particular. I think if we had let them know about the type of the types of folks who are coming out and what specific needs, we could set up stands on the road. We could send out social media posts informing, our ticket buyers that they can go to a general store to pick up certain items and make sure that those items were stocked ahead of time. We intend to do that this year. We've been short-staffed the last 2 years. So it's our intention to, involve the community more to make sure that, there was a farmer who was put out a sign on 270th Street selling raw honey. We want to see more of that kind of thing, where, it just makes it possible for the local community to reap the benefits of tourism that's coming into the county.
Anything else for Don? Okay, well then we'll move on to discuss and consider event permit. Ed drew up a permit. I gave you a copy of it. You're more than welcome, Suzie, and
You just gave me a copy.
yeah, this one, yeah. So one of the things I noticed in there, unless I missed it, was I didn't see anything about a fee.
I did not include that, and all of this is in the board's unique discretion
Right.
determining. I also just picked decibel sounds, measurements. I don't know if you folks measure decibels
Mhm.
at the boundaries of your place and what they are when they go out. But I just suggested stuff, and I took stuff from one of the other cities in Iowa. And just I had to put something in there, but and I did not know how you would want to do a permit, so I made the application for the permit be done by the chair, with the board authorizing the chair to do the initial permit application and negotiations, and then a right of appeal to the whole board if there was any objection on the part of the permit applicant, so that the whole board would be involved. But you could also have the application be made to like the Board of Health or some other county employee or officer. I don't know who would want to do that or how the board wants to set it up, but it's your discretion. I'm not elected. You guys are.
I'll see it for a minute. So what we have in here at this particular moment is we define obnoxious noise. And it says any organized gathering of 100 or more persons, whether temporary or recurring. Obnoxious noise is defined as a noise which unreasonably endangers the comfort, health, peace, or safety of others, or noise disturbs, injures, or interferes with the peaceful enjoyment of private property of other persons. A decibel was a unit obviously used to measure the intensity of sound. Noise level limits. Maximum permissible noise level as measured at the property line or within the property of any neighboring residence. Any person residing within 300 feet or more, neighboring resident, any person residing within 300 feet or more of the event location, event organizer, any person or entity responsible for planning, managing, or operating the event. Noise level restrictions. And I keep in mind to everybody, both pro and con, that this is not etched in stone. This is just The draft that Ed has put together for us, no large event shall produce noise exceeding 80 decibels when measured at any neighboring residence property line or elsewhere on the neighboring residence property during daytime hours, 7 AM to 10 PM. No large event shall produce noise exceeding 60 decibel when measured at the border of any other resident or elsewhere on the neighboring residence property during nighttime hours, 10 PM to 7 AM. The use of sound application equipment must be minimized and oriented away from neighboring residents to reduce noise. You're talking about taking those steps. Noise measurements shall be conducted using a calibrated sound level meter according to ANSI standards. We don't need to go into all that detail. Event organizers must comply with all applicable health and safety codes, including but not limited to fire safety, crowd control, sanitation, emergency medical services, which you do. Adequate barriers or fencing must be provided to control crowds and restrict unauthorized entry, which you do. Lighting shall be sufficient to ensure safe egress, ingress, and on-site movement during any nighttime events. Event organizers must develop and submit a safety and emergency plan for review and approval. Presumably, this would not only come before the board of supervisors, but would be reviewed by our medical and law enforcement personnel. Any organizer intending to hold a large event must obtain a permit from Jefferson County Board of Supervisors, which what he just said shall act through his chair. Enforcement penalties, any law enforcement agency is authorized to monitor noise levels and enforce compliance. Violation of noise restrictions or permit conditions may result in an immediate suspension or revocation of the event permit, fines not exceeding $650 per violation, imprisonment up to 30 days, both such fine and imprisonment, or both such fine and imprisonment, orders to cease event activities until compliance is achieved, other remedies as provided by law. That, I mean, there's effective date severability appeal. So that is a draft. Now I will be perfectly honest with you, in layman's terms, I don't know how loud 80 decibels is. Or isn't, as far as that part of it is concerned.
That's a conversation we're having right now. We're at about 80 decibels, give or take.
So,
On the back, that's.
oh, okay. Garbage disposal or noisy traffic close by. Okay. That'd be your combine, right?
I wasn't thinking about the combine.
Well, no, I'm just saying garbage disposal or noisy traffic close by would be 80 decibels. That's what they're, and what, go ahead.
That's what you got there, yeah.
Right, okay, and so what I'm asking, or what I'm thinking, go there, Suzie.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is, if I can hear it 3 miles away. If the garbage disposal goes off in my kitchen, I can shut it off, right? But at some point, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, okay, if something goes by and it's really loud, like the combine, when it goes by your house, when it goes the other end of the field,
Mhm.
it's not as loud as when it's by your house. So when that noise goes by, it's gone. This
It is more constant.
is a constant,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, maybe the decibel meter would have shown above 80, maybe it wouldn't have. I think the problem that Tim has and probably other residents have is the bass sound of it.
Yeah.
I suspect even if you have an 80 decibel limit that I mean, we can see, it's hard to say because we took our main stage down, you know, we don't have it up there anymore, so you can't do a test
And
at this point.
I like bass, so, you know.
Yeah,
I do.
sure.
I gotta be.
No, I mean, we book artists who are in the electronic music, in the bass music subgenre of electronic music, so that's it's important, an important part of it. So I just what, you know, I'm sure it's a start for them, and you know, and we want to be good neighbors, and we'll, you know, we'll comply if you guys pass it. I guess we'll find out.
Well, and honestly, Tim. Or anybody else that's listening, by the way, if this is something that you're listening for. I think one of the simplest ways to resolve the issue, the noise level notwithstanding, is cutoff time. Go ahead.
My input would be probably both. I'm in agreement with you. I'm not an expert on the sound, but I would say 80 decibels at a higher frequency is gonna sound a whole lot different than
Yeah.
this lower frequency heavy bass you've got at even, at 80 decibels. It's gonna cut through probably a lot.
I'm guessing you
harder.
didn't hear a lot of higher frequencies at your last.
No, I did not. I know, daughter and son-in-law said they could hear, voices coming from the stage.
Okay,
So they were getting some of beyond the bass, but the bass is the biggest hurdle.
Can I jump in with that? I want to make sure the board knows what it's talking about here with regards to the regulation. So there's a lot of specific conversation about Mr. Revelinsky's project and his show that's get splits on once a year. The board is not talking about regulating Mr. Revelinsky's show, right? We're not tailoring an ordinance specifically targeted at one business. This is an ordinance that's going to be broadly construed and applied to anybody who's having a gathering of more than 100 people. So I just want to kind of make it clear that that's what we're talking about. There's a lot of specific conversation about a event, but we're not going to regulate an event. We're going to regulate all events or no events. So I just want to make sure that we're not kind of targeting Mr. Revelinsky's business specifically, but just kind of generally regulating sound and whatever else. So we just have to keep that in mind as a board, that it's not a one-off,
This
definitely cannot do that.
This would apply to city's fireworks show
It
too.
would apply to everybody, yeah, equally.
If I would also add to what Chauncey said, this would also apply if Billy Graham were still alive and held a huge revival meeting. It'd apply across the board to any event more than 100, which is what the county attorney is pointing out.
Which honestly, I'm thinking about other events with more than 100 people, weddings, right? There's a lot of weddings, they go late into the night, and I don't think I've ever been at a wedding with music below 60 decibels. So I'm thinking about.
Like out of Barnes.
I think this says the under definition, section 2, a large event, any organized gathering of 100 or more people held on private or public property outside of any municipality's boundaries. Would that include an unincorporated town?
Yes,
That would include like East Pleasant Palm.
yes.
And the Masdam Barnes.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah. I just think, I'm sitting there thinking about a farm auction. I'm pretty sure there are more than 100 people at a farm auction. You gotta make real sure you don't
right.
throw that in this mix as well.
So now, by the same token, Sean, if we have an event at the Barnes, since it's in theory going to be in the city limits, do we still have jurisdiction over that?
I don't know, well, I would
In
say
terms of a
Fairfield
permit
is
process.
an incorporated city, so they probably have rules that I think when you start talking about parks, we have rules that you can't do things that interfere with someone else's
Right.
enjoyment of the area.
Right.
So I think that would be totally different.
But these are the conversations we can have.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
As we're trying to put this together, so that we do it right and don't penalize a specific
And I
entity.
mean, yeah, along those lines, we have quiet hours and closed portions of the day as well. So I think parks are not gonna be affected
Right.
by this at all.
So Lee, are you saying you don't think we're ready to vote on this because there's too many things to consider that we haven't even thought of?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, he gave us a starting point.
Oh, I think so. I think it's a good starting point.
And, and as far as that aspect of it goes, no disrespect to any of the interested parties, I don't think we have to rush into anything. And we just kick it back and forth and, you know, I mean, how many times do the last ordinance we did that we sent Elizabeth back to the drawing board 100,000 times to, you know, to tweak it here and there. And that also doesn't mean that we can't revisit it at some point if we realize that, oh, we got a little overzealous or, you know, whatever the case may be.
I just think this is a good start.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, that all of the interested parties initially in this particular instance are aware that we're looking at moving in a direction heretofore we haven't been really involved in. And I appreciate everything in your particular instance that you have done and are doing. So it's and would value your input moving forward
Sure.
as well as everybody else's.
Mhm.
I just want to say that I'm not against parties, having parties, but whenever you start infringing on other people's enjoyment and stuff, then we need to look at something, some way to control it, so they don't have to listen to that stuff.
I understand. He
So,
didn't buy a ticket.
pardon?
He didn't buy a ticket.
Well, at that price, I wouldn't either.
That's fair enough.
Bob?
Well, one comment I might make, I mean, I've heard it, I mean, I live south of just west of town a little bit. And there's a lot of factors that we have no control over, and neither does John. But it depends on how heavy the air is, what direction the wind's from, everything. And I mean, on a nice, quiet, still evening, boy, you can hear it.
Yeah.
And I mean, so there's so many factors there that you don't have control over, I understand. And everything, but it's just, I live where I live because I like my peace and quiet.
Sure.
Well, and so what the board's hope is that we can meld those two desires together, the economic benefit and the things that come from that, not wanting to squash, and any other event that's going on, as far as that part of it goes. And like you said, being good neighbors
Mhm.
in all events, because there's gonna be events held other places potentially that we used to have a fireworks permit. We haven't done it for years, but we had folks come in quite often and get fireworks permit. And part of that was to make sure that we knew where it was at, that it wasn't interfering at the airport, you know, those sort of things. So, but again, none of this is etched in stone. We'll review it and make notes and send it back, and it'll be on the agenda so everybody can see it and participate and
Have a continued conversation.
Well, I think you've got a very good starting point there.
so.
Don, did you say this is just the second year?
Of Symmetry
Yeah,
Festival,
done
yes,
this.
yes, sir.
Okay, because to your point on not targeting a festival, we've had in 4 or 5 years worth of events happening at that location. And we've had the noise issues, and there's
Okay.
usually one in the spring
Okay,
and there's one late in the year here. And I don't know if you're involved with the one earlier in the year.
I'm not.
Okay, but it's been ongoing, it's been ongoing for a while. It's just,
I'm aware of that the landowner has rented out his land for other events. I'm not involved in organizing that. I can only handle the one, from an organizational standpoint.
okay, so just to, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Just to make clear, that's, I'm not targeting Mr. Evelinski.
Sure.
It's the first time I've met him, but it's built to this point.
You can, I just want to make sure that the government is crafting an ordinance targeted at one thing, right? Yeah.
Right, it's, yeah, we've just had, like I said, so it's kind of at the point where this is where we are, so.
Do you have anything, Bob, that state line rally?
we don't have it anymore.
No, I know, but did you have a permit process or anything? Or was that the city?
Well, I don't think the fairgrounds is within the city limits. That was handled through the fair board and stuff.
Okay,
And
that makes sense.
if there were any complaints at that time, the law enforcement took care of it.
Yeah, and they're a lot closer there than they would be
Oh, yeah.
at Tennessee.
And, but they, yeah, there were some issues, but I think most of the time, and they had a deadline to shut down and keep things.
Okay,
All right.
I appreciate everybody's input and willingness to help us develop this,
Thank you, Mr.
Sure.
and we'll
Yeah.
go from there.
Hey, thanks,
Appreciate it.
thanks for your time.
Discuss and consider Jackson Point.
I'm sorry, before you guys move on, are you
Yeah.
voting on anything today
No,
with this?
no.
Okay.
No,
Okay, thank you.
I'm getting back to you.
It's about an hour.
That's what we said.
come on down.
Sure.
So I appreciate this staying on the agenda. After our discussion last week, I know we discussed kind of the four options that were possible, or maybe that I envisioned and hoping for other options. Following that conversation, I did reach out to Mr. Burns and request just kind of an idea of what it would take for Keyway Management to maintain their continued operations, essentially, as they have been up through for the next essentially 18 months. I did forward the response I got from Mr. Burns on Friday. And I hope that everybody has a copy of that. There's a number of requirements that he would have, but the principal one that I saw was a payment of $186,755 by October 24th of 2025.
You didn't get that figure.
It's in the email there.
Is it okay?
So I just kind of wanted to bring that fifth option to the board, along with the four others that we had discussed on Thursday, and hopefully we can have the best course forward here.
Well, in the interest of full disclosure, so that the board of supervisors know, I did respond to Chauncey, but I responded to Chauncey. So as not to be. I'm just gonna read my response so that everybody can hear it. As I stated, I'm only replying to you at this point, meaning Chauncey. For all intents and purposes, there are no physical owners at this juncture. Owner or owners. And in fact, at one point in time, Burns and Burns were part of the Jackson Point Limited Partnership, who was designated as the owners. In fact, Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp. Deeded land over to the partnership in October of 2005. My point is simple. The county is not the owner and is not responsible for any alleged debt incurred by Keyway Management. If any entity is responsible, it would be the limited partnership that originally included Burns and Burns. And in fact, the loan documents were, when they were recorded, they were returned to Tracy Falcamata at Burns and Burns in Iowa City. They're still in business at the same address, and these are the listed companies, and I don't need to go through that. So as an appointed board member, while I cannot speak for the other Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp. Board members, I feel safe in saying we will not be paying Keyway Management any money. I do not see any obligation on the county's part to reimburse as a member of the ownership, i.e. Burns and Burns and Keyway Management. I might even suggest that the mortgage holder, IFA, is the owner. And it makes no sense to me as a member of the board of the Progressive Housing Corp. Or as a member of the Board of Supervisors. That, and I'm not disputing what Kiwi management is indicating. But it is pretty obvious that if, and I'm assuming they've lost this money over the last 2 or 3 years. It's not a viable entity. And Iowa Finance Authority's inability to do any rent increase, you know, a rent increase of $35 a month on 18 units isn't going to make a significant amount of difference to one's bottom line, almost $186,000 over the last 2 or 3 years. Which according to Kiwi management, that's indeed the case. So I did reach out to Optime, just for everybody's information, to see if they would be interested in managing it, not owning it, just managing it. And Susan indicated that she would reach out to her staff today. I've not heard back from anybody, but she was in Texas, so
Susan Molno, is that who you're talking about?
I'd have to look and see. Yeah, from Optime.
Okay.
Okay. That doesn't sound right, but it was a Susan.
Mhm.
And so I just threw that out there. The Board of Supervisors, quite frankly, doesn't have, I don't believe, $186,000 laying around that pony up anyway.
I just wanted to get a final option out there from Mr. Burns, give us what it would take, and he's provided what it would take, so.
And I appreciate that. Again, I'm not disputing what he's saying. We have no way of knowing, honestly. And that, again, that's not an indictment of anybody. I've got the financials here, I can tell you. And I think that this is an interesting take. We get done with this, I can write a book. Maybe. Clients reports. Financials. Right there. This is financial report from RSM, the Independent Auditors Report. And this was dated December 31st of 2022. The partnership has suffered reoccurring losses from operations, has a delinquent loan, and has stated that substantial doubt exists about the partnership's ability to continue as a going concern. And I don't agree with RSM or with the auditor in that regard. I don't see, again, no fault of Keyways, if you're not bringing in the revenue to cover your expenses. Now, I'm not saying that we would have the same expenses that Keyway would have. You know, I don't know. I don't know what kind of overhead we have. Obviously, the maintenance and the upkeep, I do know that in 2 years back to back, according to Keyway, they spent about $75,000 in maintenance and services in 22 and 23.
You know, 23 and 24, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it could be.
Okay.
But so I don't know, board, what the answer is. Sean? You are one of those civilians I referenced.
Yeah, I agree. I think the writing's on the wall as far as it seems to be not supporting itself. I don't have any advice beyond that, and it's kind of a mystery who the owner is. The actual physical owner.
And I still have, and it wasn't a fair question for Chauncey, but I still have a question of who deeds the property over? Because the limited partnership, now I know that the Progressive Housing Corp is listed as the general partner. I don't know what that means legally. I don't know if that gives them more authority. I mean, my way of thinking, a partnership is just that, it's a partnership. Now, we've had partners that have left, two of the three partners. That and I went through all of these documents, all the recordings, all of the mortgage documents, everything went to Burns and Burns, everything. And so I don't know, Chauncey, help me out here.
I can't help you, Lee, because this is a situation where the board has to decide what it wants to do, and it probably should do so before the 31st of October, which is the date at which Keyway will cease being involved in this project. So I would love to have a better, a miracle option that is one of the other options other than the 5 that have been presented to the board. But I think you either have to decide if you want to take over this project as a county, if you want to divest and delink or basically forego the mortgage to Iowa Finance Authority, or pay off the loan and try and sell the property. I mean, we've gone through this 3, 4, 5 different times. The options don't get better with time; they get worse with time. So.
True. Now, again, I've not heard back, I'm not saying that she may have emailed back by now, but I've not heard back from Optimay. So my thought process there, just so you know, what I was thinking was that if they were to jump on board and say, yeah, we would manage it for X. And what I said in terms of the management was to handle the leases, the collecting of the rent, to notify Dave, for example, if we needed maintenance done or something, that sort of thing. Then would the Board of Supervisors consider taking it over with Optimay as the manager and see where that look? I don't know. I just don't think we are equipped as a board to run the operation. I know Dave is really confident in being able to oversee a lot of the stuff there and know what needs to be done and who to get a hold of to get it done. I have no doubt about that. I don't know if I was excited, but I was pleased that she was at least willing to reach out to her staff, her team. That's what she said, see what their thought process was on managing it. And since according to what you were told, they actually have somebody that works for them that is there. I don't see on the rent list Optimay, but this person works for Optimay and evidently Optimay pays the rent or something. I don't know.
If you purchased the property, you'd be spending what, $860,000 for it? And that would give you full control over the property, right? As far as rents and everything else. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to live up to any agreement that you've got with anybody at that point in time. Is that correct?
But we would be locked into whatever leases existed at the moment. And I don't think it would be because the owners of all, not the owners, the renters, the leasees have already been notified the rent will increase January 1 to $535 and
Right,
$620 respectively.
but
We would
even,
have to honor that, I
I do
think.
that with them.
right, but even if you extended the existing agreement, until 2027, you'd be spending $860,000 on a property that's worth $1.5 million. So, I mean, you're not,
Well, you know.
in 18, 20 months' time, you're probably not gonna screw away $700,000 on it.
Well, no, probably not, but what I would say as far as what it's worth, I'll use my Elvis collection. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And so it may be listed on the assessor's website at 1.4 million. I doubt very seriously you get 1.4 million out of it.
Right.
Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot.
Well, no, I'm just saying that, you know, the thing is that either way, like you pointed out and Chauncey pointed out, you can roll the dice and wait to see if IFA forgives the loan at the end of the term. And hopefully you don't lose money in the next 24 months. And it is November, you're right, it's May 31st, but they can't do anything until November. I don't know, it's there, I haven't heard back from Optimay. Sean, I just know the Progressive Housing Corp is not ponying up $186,000. Sean maybe, but the corporation.
The supervisors aren't going to either. Or I'm not. So.
Well, and I don't know.
If Burns wants to take it over and continue managing, he wants this $186,000 and then charge after that. Is that the way?
I would refer to his email. It's a lot more detailed than that, but there's a claim for an outstanding balance of $186,755.
Yeah, and at the same time, you could also accrue another $70,000 in maintenance costs that would be on top of that. So,
Concrete work,
yeah,
air conditioners.
And after everything is paid, the chairman's concerns about who has title, equitable and legal title is important to have resolved.
And I believe it's the limited partnership, which to me consisted of PNC Bank, Burns and Burns LC, and Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp. Now, there were other players initially way back when.
VITA.
Yes. But that's the limited partnership. And so before, I don't know, I'm not an attorney and I'm certainly not, I just don't know. I'm just saying that I can show you the documents where it was deeded over by the Progressive Housing Corp to Jackson Point Limited Partnership. The land anyway. And the loan was made to the limited partnership. Not to the Progressive Housing Corp. They were a member of that partnership. And if I remember correctly in the email, Mr. Moreland stated that he was surprised, I guess you'd say, that the PNC Bank allegedly had not sought approval before withdrawing, or that they were required to give the approval. They obviously have given the approval to Keyway Management to withdraw. So 1/3 of the partnership is, as Susie and I like to say, the three-legged stool. Well, guess what happens when you take the legs away from the three-legged stool? It tips over. And it's a sinking ship. So the rats.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way. This is an
Oh, I
asset.
don't know. I feel like I'm going down for the last time, but go ahead.
This is an asset that is valued at $1.4 million with a forgivable loan. It has a loan on the property for $860,000. It's forgivable in 2027. So, sinking ship, this is not an albatross around anybody's neck. This is a housing unit that serves a need for people in the community. And it is an asset of which Progressive Housing Corporation and through osmosis, I suppose, the county has some interest in. So this is not something that is exploding to burden anybody. This is something that if the county and the board and the Progressive Housing Corporation doesn't act might, be foreclosed upon by Iowa Finance Authority.
So let me ask you a question. And I apologize to the board, but these things, trying to get answered is important to me on this. Let's say that the supervisors goes, okay, progressive housing corridor. If legally you can deed it over to us, deed it over to us.
Get a quick claim deed or something like
Right,
that
okay.
from all the parties
So
that had
now,
interest.
is Jefferson County on the hook for $186,000?
Possibly.
That's problematic.
There is certainly a claim outstanding for, 186,000.
Against the owners.
Correct.
Of which I contend Burns is one of those owners,
Yes.
as is PNC Bank.
This is extremely convoluted.
Yes.
Yes.
You are right, Chauncey.
There's a reason why there hasn't been an easy path through this.
So,
I don't want county to be hooked for 186,000 if we take it over.
No. You guys misunderstand. The $186,000 is a claim by Burns Housing in order to continue the management and operation for the next 18 months.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's what the email is about. I asked him, what does it take for you to maintain this status quo ante for the next, until the loan period is forgiven or not? And that is one of the points that he's proposed.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. No,
I
he-
didn't read it that close, I'll
The-
be truthful.
Okay, well, the 186,000 is just for the management. That's the outstanding claim for continued management. What is on the hook is the $860,000.
That's the Iowa Finance Authority.
Correct. That is a forgivable loan by Iowa Finance Authority that will be either forgiven or not forgiven in 2027.
So if we agree to take this over, we're not gonna owe anybody any money except this Iowa Finance. Burns and Burns is not going to come after us for debt that they have incurred.
This is America. You can sue anybody for anything. So I can't assure that that wouldn't happen. But that is, that's where we are.
They may have a lien against the property for any debts of management and care that they exist, and that would be a impediment to the title that is given by him. But if I would think that if you got a quitclaim deed from everyone, I don't know that that carries the liability, but it does go toward that property. And so that would have to be resolved somehow.
well, then he states in his email, but like Chauncey said, by October 24, 2025, to property operating account to cover accounts payable to vendors,
This is
plural, in the amount of $186,755.
outstanding mowing. This is all of the stuff that we see in his financials.
So we've got folks coming in there that have been doing this or doing that he hasn't been paying.
That's the assertion.
And legally, if you provide services, you're given up to 90 days to lien the property and file it with the courts so that you have a right to sue against the property. But people that provide benefits, if they don't file that lien, they don't have the right against the property. But it's usually got to be done within 90 days of the person that's been the contractor that's provided services. But that would include lawn mowing and everything else. And that happens occasionally. The Walmart large distribution center over in Mount Pleasant had that when they built it, when the surety and the general contractor went bankrupt. There were like 13 local businesses there that all lost out because they didn't file liens. And they had no right against it.
Okay, so,
So could they file a lien against the property for money that's due to them?
not for money that's due, just for, you've got to provide the services.
Okay.
And if you provide the services within 90 days, then the lien is active and able to be liened. If it's beyond the 90 days, I handled a case in the Supreme Court where they decided that you're X'd out and you can't fake something and just go in and, do some hammering or something and where it's not part of the original contract and then do it. So I don't know when the last services to the property that were essential, the property were done. But to the extent that there are other claims that others have provided and Keyway just says, well, we owe these bills to these people. I don't know that Keyway has a right. I think that would be a right that would be within the people that provide services, and it would have to be within that time period. That'd be my off the cuff legal impression.
I talked to Dick Reed this morning and he seemed to think that Burns and Burns had another company that they use as a go-to to provide services, plumbing, electrical, that kind of thing.
Burns and Burns have several businesses. They are architects.
Right.
And they do design. They've got a lot of separate entities that they're involved in,
So that,
but each one is a individual entity.
so they could actually be billing themselves and as a contractor, that contractor could lien the property. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're architects, and then they have a company where they're real estate developers, and then they have a property management company, which is Keyway.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'd be able to put a lien against it, and they'd have to investigate that to find out.
Still a question, but I thought I'd ask.
It's a very important key question.
Well, here's one. There's taxes owed against it. Property taxes don't get paid. It goes up for tax sale in June. I'm just saying, okay?
Well, we have a lien against it too for our taxes.
Well,
And if
so
there's a
I
foreclosure,
mean,
you've got to
it's
include
a simple
everybody in
statement of
it.
fact because it's on the agenda. And so the first half taxes haven't been paid. And look, we offered a contract back in 2023 so for the last 2 years, and this is a question for you guys. For the last 2 years, he operated that of his own free will. He could have walked away 2 years ago. We offered a contract and he did not accept it. And basically it was the same contract that had been enforced in prior years, of which the company got 16% of the gross receipts. That's what it said in the contract. Now, that doesn't mean that the outside, whatever. They never came to this board, they never came to the Progressive Housing Quote and said, hey, we have a bid until they ran out of money. Now, all of a sudden, they have a bid for sidewalks. We never ever saw any bids, and all the years that this was being done, I'm not finding fault, I'm just simply making a statement. We never saw checking accounts. We didn't even know where it was held. Okay, fine, that's water under the bridge. All I'm saying is that he operated for 2 years without a contract.
Yes.
So we weren't obligated technically to anything because there was nothing in the contract.
I just want to focus us a little bit. I think these are all really good conversations to have. And we should probably, if we're going to go down the route of trying to find fault and protect each other's entities, maybe go into a closed session to talk about that as opposed to, if this gets contentious with other entities, we would not want to have that conversation.
And
I don't think we're there. I don't
Yeah,
think, I think this meeting, this agenda item is to try and find the best course through, right? Not to,
I don't have a clue what that is.
yeah, but I think you're right about all that, right? And these are all things that if things go south and sour, which they're not, right? Not yet, at least we should address, but.
Do you have any idea what you think it might cost? Let's say you took it over,
No, I
what's it
don't
gonna
have.
cost for this? What's it gonna cost for that? How much money is gonna come in every single month
Not a clue, and I'm not in a position I wouldn't even know how to begin to manage that property. Or to handle the leases, or, the the needs of certain residents over other residents and who oversees those and what are our responsibilities in that? And with those particular residents, if any, I don't know the answer to those questions.
Is that something that Optima can tell you after they've met?
Well, I'm sure they would be able to, because at least at one point in time, a lot of them were their clients, may still be, I don't know.
You know, maybe one of the reasons why some of the other management companies don't want to get involved is because of that one component.
Well,
But
and I know Mr. Burns made a comment, not a derogatory comment, but made a comment that the requirements associated with that kind of tied their hands to some extent.
And it's my understanding, and I don't know what changed with Optimate, but Mr. Burns indicated that previously Optimate had been sourcing clients or residents for the facility. And one of the reasons why there's a couple of open units, in addition to the maintenance issue, is that Optimate has stopped sourcing residents for that facility. It was kind of they were involved both in providing services and also in making sure that those
They had
positions were
tenants.
occupied. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do know that for whatever reason, that particular constituency has, and maybe for good reasons, I hope, but that particular constituency population has declined somewhat. And so, I'm going to, exit the room for a moment while you guys.
I can make just one observation. Historically, this county had a facility named Tenco. And it related to the 10 counties and the 8A judicial district that we are in with Washington, Keosauqua, and the 10 counties going to the west. And Tenco was a sheltered workshop. The well does some of that work currently, and to which they try to help people get back on their feet and provide that. Tenco had workers that would come and that lived in the facilities. Optimate, I think, or one of the prior groups to Optimate, then would have a short bus that would take them all to Tenco. They would work, they were paid a limited wage and gave meaning to these people's lives. So that, you know, they progressed. Currently, there are a few industries in Jefferson County that continue to use some of the people in that fashion that are challenged on their skills. But that was where originally this type of project would have gotten all of its residents or that qualified. But part of the problem is the federal government currently is in a huge uproar over whether we're going to continue having federal funds. No one knows the answers.
it could be done tomorrow.
It's in the news.
Ed, was that be for Section 8 housing?
I'm not positive on the sections.
Because there seem to be a lot of places around the city that have that, whether it's Wagon Wheel or Lantern Park or Kalu Apartments or Logan Apartments. I guess I sit here and I think if we've got 12 residents at Jackson Point, because one of them isn't helping me.
Mhm.
If we got 12 residents, why can't, are there any openings in those others? Are they similar to transition them over? I mean, because my first thing is the residents. I think this is a huge undertaking, not that it wouldn't be beneficial if done right, but it's huge. And with the climate of the government right now, I'm not sure we can decide that.
We're always gonna have citizens that are gonna be challenged and that are going to need. to
Yeah,
be
look
here.
around the room here. We're all challenged. Not to get jail.
Some of us can do
Still
the
can
100-yard
raise their
dash
hand.
a little faster than some of the rest of
Well, if somebody
us.
pushes me fast enough, we might be able to do it.
You know, the one thing about the residents out there is they seem, from what I could see, they seem to have been there for a very long
They
time.
have.
So once you get a tenant in there, you don't have that same maintenance of trying to get another one.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of the rules of marketing.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
easier to keep the person you got.
Yeah.
The person you got you have to have revenue for it. I assume someone is going to have to come up with revenue to
you know,
support these
that's
people.
right. The 3 or 4 people that, when I was doing that kind of thing, that were out there that I had, they passed away already. They lived there a long time. But you're right, there's not much turnover when
No.
they get there.
But the other thing out there is, okay, they've got 5 units that are not being rented right
Correct.
now
Correct.
for one reason or the other, that they need some work done or whatever it may be. And they were also told out there that they weren't going to accept any more people in there. So at some point in time, somebody made the decision that either we're not gonna put the money into repairing these so that we can rent them out, or we don't want any more responsibility.
That's interesting.
But one of the residents out there is also, you know, she works out there, she works for Optimate. There's also a young lady out there that does, you know, that does cleaning and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So it may be that, you know, there may be a total of 7 units that you're not receiving any.
That's, yeah,
anything
I
from.
was doing the math there.
Yeah.
And if you had the unit and someone owned it and running it, they might put in this type of a device, which
Well,
is much less expensive.
You know, I think if you wanted to forfeit one rent, that you could put a person in there and they could take care of all the ground. They could cut the grass, they could weed eat, everything with the exception of the parking lot up there, snow removal. But at the same time, that one person could also take care of all the interior cleaning. So the physical property between that and my volunteering maintenance for 6 months, the physical end of it will be taken care of. So then it's just a matter of putting people in there and, you know, putting whatever numbers that you have to get along the way. It seems to me that with Burns's management structure and the whole package that they put together, it just creates debt. It doesn't create profit. Unless I'm mistaken, but I don't think I am.
I would think before, and this is my personal view, but I would think before a government would want to put out all the money that we ought to make, some effort to see if the other people, they don't want to be part of it, see if they will give up their ownership or any legal rights into the property. In other words, with quick claim deeds, just to find out where we sit on that. And if we had a limited partnership, if it was reconstituted with new people or some entity that was set up by government, that new partnership, limited partnership reconstituted, then you'd have in the same name, have a way to maybe go forward. That's the best I've been able to come up with. But I don't think if we have no ownership of the building and we pay everything off, sometime that's going to have to be dealt with as to who owns it, and that needs to be corrected. They have a doctrine in wills and trusts, it's called the cypre doctrine, where a court can appoint a new entity that's responsible. And I wish I were a better lawyer. I might know the answer to how we could do that. And reconstitute the partnership.
Well, one of the questions I have, and
That's not my opinion as an assistant county attorney, my personal views,
No, Milrod.
no.
Mike, I got a question about, and this applies to another property that we can talk about, but one of the things that's on the agenda is to discuss, consider concrete work at Jackson Point. Does the county have the authority to put taxpayer dollars into private property? Because it is private property, it is paying property taxes, it was a limited partnership. And it is a corporation. And I don't know that we have, I'm asking the question, I don't know if we have the authority to invest tax dollars into private property.
It's a really good question.
I have the same question for the drive out at the space.
There is a statute that I sent to the board last week that gives you the right to give money to the county fair, but the legislature has authorized that.
Right.
And I don't know what authority the legislature has given you to assist private people where it's in the public good.
Now, I certainly could make an argument that in both questions, it would be in the public good, repairing the drive out there. It'd be in the public good because it would be tearing up public equipment. But, and we could talk later about that, and you could make the argument that the greater public good is that if somebody doesn't trip and fall and break their nose, that we're saving, because like you said, anybody can sue anybody, and you and I both know where that would end up on whose doorstep.
And if we fix it, it was a better argument that we're on the hook if somebody hurts themselves.
Okay, see, that's my point, so. There we are, now I don't know, and speaking to Mr. Moreland, or I'm sorry, and speaking to First Resources, when they first discussed taking it over, the response from Iowa Finance Authority, according to them, and I can read you the email, they weren't excited about new ownership. So would they be excited about new ownership, even if it was us, meaning the county?
I can't speak to their emotional status, but I don't think that they would, I think they would prefer that to the alternatives, I would say. That would be my guess.
Okay. I just want to look real quick and see if by chance we got an email from. Huh?
How old was your, how old is your little boy that did football last night? But that was cute. Oh. My little person did cheerleading on Friday night. So cute. You'll have kids.
Huh.
No,
So that was.
yeah, it's a little dog. Okay.
Yes, it was. It was Martin and nothing about it.
Mullen,
Mullen.
No, Susan Martin.
Susan Martin.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who we contacted before. That was the tape play.
Maybe if it was the appropriate meeting with Susan Mullen out, and that's why I thought.
Yeah. We can assign the Boyd property, it's ours. And we just got an email from Elizabeth on that one. Okay. No easy decision. Obviously. We got a little more than a week. About two. I don't know. I think that there's, I hate to say this, because I know it frustrates Chauncey that we keep kicking cans. But I don't know that Sean and I can deed over anything.
Right, right.
I'm gonna go in the recorder's office and see. Like I said, I do know I gave all that information, Michael had it at one time, because I had to record, the recorder print out the stuff. And I'm not mistaken when I say that Burns and Burns was one of the limited partners. I have, so is Chauncey, we've both spoken directly to Mr. Moreland. And the forgiveness of the loan is not, they're locked into by the feds as well, I think, if I understand the process correctly.
They don't have any flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I have interpreted the way Mr. Mullen has spoken about this that he cannot assure us of the forgivability of the loan. However, that if the project has been managed, assuming it's been managed the way it has been managed over the last 20 years, that they would anticipate that there's a very strong likelihood of forgiveness at the forgiveness date, right? That they have been up to this point complying with the terms of the project. That specifically being special needs and low income housing unit. Just to remind everybody, the purpose of that forgivable loan, the only lever of control that the Iowa Finance Authority has is whether or not they forgive that $860,000 loan. That is a mechanism that the state uses to ensure that projects like this, which are designed for special needs and low income housing, are used to the purposes to which they are intended, instead of going out and renting it for the highest dollar possible. So that's their purpose. It's a good purpose. There's a reason why they can't say, yes, we will forgive. No, we won't forgive. It's to kind of keep our feet to the fire, keep the entity's feet to the fire. So I understand when they say they can't tell us whether they will forgive, but I would expect that they would forgive if we continue to operate pursuant to the rules of the program.
According to the rent schedule that would be available January 1st, because that's when it kicks in, would be roughly almost 117,000 a year, if all units were rented. And we cannot increase the rent. The maximum allowable rent increase is 10%. And they only allowed, which would have made $50 more a month, they only allowed 35. For the 500, and it went to 620, so they only allowed $20 for 2 bedrooms. Now, I'm kind of there with Dave in terms of, you know, if you were generating 110, 115,000 a year and providing somebody an apartment or an entity like Optimate, you know, I don't know what they would want to manage it. But I think it would take somebody that I do believe has some expertise in terms of lease agreements and, you know, and then, like I say, some of the residents and the needs that they may have over other residents as far as that part is concerned, the maintenance issues. Would we have to redraw the lease agreements? You know, that would require some oversight from the attorney's office. I mean, all of these things are, and as far as the rent goes, some of them are direct deposit, according to what Mr. Burns said. Some of them, they drop a check in the slot somewhere there at use.
Well, after the 31st, you don't know where those checks are gonna go
No,
right now. They may continue to allow that to go into their bank, and then you have to try and get it back from them after the fact.
well, one of the things he did say was that we'd have to get together and sign over the bank account. Which is,
First Mutual or
Midwest one.
Midwest one.
Midwest, yeah, all the one say was, all I could think of was Community First, yeah, Midwest.
So like we talked about on Thursday, you know, after the 31st, this problem doesn't go away, but it just kind of becomes more acute because there is no one managing the property. There's nobody looking out for it. There's no one cashing those checks and signing those contracts. So that is our kind of ticking time bomb situation here. It's not a time bomb, but it's a clock. And I think, as Dave was talking about, I don't know how appropriate it is to like rank order these options. The most complicated option, but probably in the best financial interests of everybody involved, is, you know, some type of takeover of the project, right? That saves everybody, saves a lot of hard work that went into this. And as I said on Thursday, we are at the 5-yard line as far as this forgivable loan. We did everything we had to for the last 18 and a half years. So
I'm trying to find out who the contractors are right now, because let's say that they wake up tomorrow morning and their heat doesn't work.
yeah,
Who do you call? Right now, I don't know that.
well, I would right now you would call Keyway. They would call Keyway.
Right, they
Yeah.
call Keyway, but on the, you know,
Yeah. But that's a long way of saying, that is an undertaking that, is probably the hardest option, but maybe not, maybe the best, maybe not. The easiest option is to walk away. That's maybe not an ideal, I don't think it's the best option, but certainly is an option.
well, you've got some time to continue to figure out what your cost might be if you should decide to move forward with it. And, you know, maybe if there's a management company that says, I don't want to do it, the question is why? You know, what component of this would we have to remove in order for you to consider it?
$186,000.
Doesn't Keyway
You know,
have some good
I think
properties
that's
in town?
ridiculous.
They have wagon wheel.
Burns and Burns seems to operate wagon wheels pretty much the same as Jackson Point, where they don't have a permanent staff in there, that I was able to get a hold of. I've been down there 2 or 3 times.
I went down there once, there was somebody in the office, but I don't know if that's full time.
Well, I think what's happening is that they take care of that in the same way they do at Jackson Point, and basically, one of the residents is taking care of, you know, the
Mark's
day-to-day
on.
around there.
Yeah, Mark?
Hey, guys. What's this about a bank account? I need to back up a minute.
According to Mr. Burns, the bank account is at Midwest One
Okay.
but I don't know if it's a Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp., if it's Jackson Point Limited Partnership, but it was set up years and years and years ago, and because I asked him specifically the other day when the young lady was here, I said, who has signatory authority on the account? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, you write checks on the account, don't you? And he goes, well, yeah. Well, then here last Thursday, he indicated that we would have to get those. As far as anybody knows, the last authorized signature on that account outside of Keyway Management was Dick Reed.
Where do the rent checks get directed to? Are they signed to Keyway? Are they signed to, do we know who the payee is for a rent check? Okay,
Never seen
Was
it.
it,
Go ahead.
sorry, was it Dick Reed as a Jefferson County supervisor?
Now, president of the Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp.
Okay, so Chauncey, I don't know that the Board of Supervisors has the authority to do anything with that bank account.
I agree with that.
right, yeah, I agree.
That's my domain. And if there's money in it, that may cause a problem with, say, like Anderson Larkin with the auditors, because we don't have any, what's that money for? What's it supposed to go to? How are we supposed to incorporate that into different county stuff? And if it's a convoluted mess, you're asking a lot from me, to be perfectly honest, to sign off on an account that I don't know anything about, that has a supervisor from 10 years ago listed as the last signer who was the president at the time.
Yeah,
And the operative word there, Mark, is convoluted.
Yeah, you with me on that, Chauncey?
I am. Let's get together and, they're not gonna sign over the account to Jefferson County. I don't anticipate that happening. Or
Right,
they-
but is there money in it that's supposed to come to Jefferson County?
No,
The only money that I know of right now, according to Mr. Burns, that's in the account is those dollars that are, give me a second here, renter deposit dollars. Otherwise, it's broke. So-
Okay, so does the account just need to be closed then?
It's
In other words, if there's no money in it and there's
Grants.
nothing that's coming to the county,
Right, it's all.
we shouldn't have to sign anything to take that account on. They should just close the account.
Well, I think what he's saying is that Dick Reed and Jesse Burns were the original signatories or whatever on the account so that they could write checks to pay bills and whatnot for Jackson Point Progressive Housing Corp. and the Jackson Point Limited Partnership. You're right, that the county was never,
county's not a party to
right,
that account.
right. You're 100% correct in that regard, as well.
Okay,
as well
and
as
forgive me,
the-
I'm multitasking, so I've been bouncing kind of in and
Okay.
out of the meeting. And yeah, I apologize for not
No,
catching
that's
everything
fine.
the first time through, but yeah, so you guys don't get too far into this and then realize, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to. Yeah, my opinion as far as the guy in the county that handles the bank accounts for receivable, I'd say that account should just be closed if there's any money in it. Somebody needs to determine what account that gets dropped into if it goes to the county. Otherwise, it just needs to go away.
But if
You
it
think
goes
so,
to the county,
Chauncey?
it's not county money. It's not, we have nothing to do with that account. Up until one of the options is basically having people quit claim title and deed to the county and take it over. But in that event, that's the only event that account would become county involved.
Okay.
That's-
I have one comment. Under the state law, landlord tenant, the tenants, if they've provided any deposit, we have an obligation to hold that deposit.
Right.
So we don't want to wipe out an account if that's holding deposits.
But then you still run into the issue of me being the one to accept that account. And if I don't have an account, if I don't have a specific line item number from the auditor's office to put that money into, I'm not taking the money.
Right.
Whether that state law that you just mentioned is valid or not, I'm not taking the money unless I've got a line item to stick it into. And whether we're just a pass through or what, it's still not going to happen.
Yeah,
Just to be clear.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay. So, board, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a motion to what we beat this horse. There's a couple of other things on here that apply to this subject matter. But are you gonna kick the can at the moment, or what? What is the board's desire? I question whether or not I can even vote as a member of the Progressive Housing.
Exactly.
Of course, you could remove me from that, and I would just be absolutely tickled pink.
So I do have a question for you, Chauncey. One of your options was we take it over. Like, well, option 2, option 3. Do we also incur the debt with that? Or do we get it?
By debt, you're talking about the forgivable loan. That's a mortgage
No,
on the building.
not the forgivable loan, but they say they're in debt so much, they've lost so much over the last couple of years. Are we gonna have to take that on too? Are we gonna have to pay them for that? Do we get it?
That's a very simple question with a complicated answer. As Mr. Kelly was indicating, that is a number that Mr. Burns has come up with from a lot of prior work that was done from various contractors. So I don't think I can give you a firm yes or no on that, but there is a claim outstanding by Keyway for that amount. Whether or not that is actually money paid by Keyway to contractors or claims contractors have made against Keyway, the answer is possibly, but not it's not black and white. And it depends on when the work was done and who did the work.
So they're kind of holding us hostage around that way.
I think that's a little more dire than the reality. I don't think that there's no gun to our head because right now the county has no legal obligation.
And I don't think that Acme Lawn Care would continue to come in and do it if they weren't getting paid for the last 2 years. That's true. So I'm assuming, and I don't know what happens when you assume, but I'm assuming that the dollar figure is out of pocket from the management entity.
That's what I would guess too, but
And again, I go back to what I said in terms of you did that for 2 years without contract and never, you know, say, hey, well, okay, after the first 100,000, you were able to pay, right?
Sometimes it's helpful to narrow things down. So it sounds like the tenor of the board here is that nobody is inclined to take Mr. Burns up on his offer. So take option 5 off the table. Okay, I'll inform Mr. Burns. That leaves us still in the kind of same place we were on Thursday. We can continue having this conversation. We can also, obviously, We can do nothing. Nothing is an option. It's just whatever happens after that is going to happen with a unmanaged building with no property manager out there.
Well,
That's not a good option.
yeah, and there's another component to that. Because right now, all of the money that's collected for the utility bills that, need to be paid out there, Keyway's the person who has their name on it with the city
Right.
and with the gas company and whoever else. And until their name has been removed, or if there's a way that you can work around that, those bills won't be paid in the future after Keyway's no longer.
Now, he did say
Involved.
Thursday that he was going to change the utilities over. But that's according to his,
Well.
But over to who?
Yeah,
I would assume the Jackson Point Limited Partnership.
And who is that again? You, Sean?
But he has to,
PNC Bank.
They're gone.
Burns,
Yeah.
if,
exactly.
if he turns that stuff over though, he has to turn it over with a name on it.
Yeah.
And he won't be able to do that.
I don't know.
I think.
I know that he indicated that the utility bills were $20,000 a year,
That sounds fair.
so.
And he could be in the rears, 2 or 3 months, for all you know.
That actually sounds very cheap. That's $1,000 a year. Right.
20,000 a year.
Well, it's 18 units.
Right, if they're all
The units
rented,
pay their own electricity.
So that's just for heat.
well, no, it's just
That's
the
for the
water.
common areas.
They're paying their electricity and they're not paying for the natural gas and they're not paying for the water and sewer. Plus there's probably, who knows, there's probably cable and all kinds of other miscellaneous crap out
And
there.
and we pay for everything in the commons, or the limited partnership does. And you're right, I think there is a cable charge there. And Dave did indicate that the washer dryer is in the commons in each one. And it's $1 to use.
I've got the keys. I need to stick one of them in the lock out there and make sure that
Yeah.
it maybe just because the money's going in doesn't mean you can get it back.
That's true. Okay, forward.
I'm not ready to do anything.
Should we put this on the agenda for next week and continue having conversations?
Yeah, but I would be interested in having a closed session.
Okay.
Where people couldn't hear what we were saying online on Zoom.
there is a possibility of imminent litigation.
There's also, when discussing real estate, where that might impact valuation. So there are, we could definitely have a closed session to discuss that.
Well,
How
and
does that happen though when the supervisors aren't leaving?
We talked about that
Because
when
they
we bought the,
potentially could be.
I'll look at it. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah,
the
that's a
same
good
thing
question.
that happened when we were talking about buying the old First National Bank Drive.
We need to reiterate here. The county is not on the hook. for this. This is not the county's property, but this is kind of something that the county has been recognizing is a very critical service for the residents that are there and for the residents of Jefferson County, and would recognize a substantial loss if it failed to continue in existence. So
And we would be saving Keyway Management. They have no responsibility in this. I think they do.
I don't know whether they do or not. I don't know if they've reached out to him.
okay.
There was no indication from Keyway that they have informed investments. I don't know, when your travels out there, are you talking to young lady,
The question is what?
whether or not they've been informed of a change of status?
They seem to be totally
Oblivious to this.
oblivious to the entire thing. And I've impressed upon them, and for the most part, this is the way it's been, is I've been out there to look at the equipment.
A lot of those individuals have special needs. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
How much
but
information?
I didn't tell them that, that there's a major problem.
Well, so we're gonna table it for at least, we can always have meeting in the week.
Okay.
But, I hope to hear, if I don't hear from Optimade relatively shortly, I'll send out another email saying, hey, I just hope to be a pain, but, and go from there.
If you did borrow that $860,000, what would it cost you a month? Any idea?
A month?
Yeah, a
It
month.
would cost us to pay it off in about 10 years, would probably cost us 10 cents a thousand. Roughly, just round figures,
So
okay?
that's what I'm,
86 grand.
Be 100,000 a year
100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay,
at 10 cents a thousand. Those are just real broad round figures.
yeah,
I don't know the exact numbers. And then yes, you would have the building free and clear. And whether you stayed in low income or whatever you wanted to do to it, as far as that part of it goes, you could still stay low income, but boost the rent up some to help cover expenses. But you're gonna have $100,000 payment a year. And if all you're generating is $100,000, I mean, it's gonna be, it would have to be a debt levy. The county would have to own it. I can't participate in that conversation,
okay. I was just curious.
but it's one that we floated. I mean, we kicked that around the other day on Thursday.
That's if you made the decision to pay it off in 10 years as opposed to 30 years or something.
Well, I think that the sooner you get out of debt, the better off you are in that regard, because something can come up. But, I don't know. We're not. It's
just such
coin
a,
phrase from Mark, it's convoluted.
it's just such a nice piece of property. I mean,
Very beautiful.
it's a very nice piece of property. For the most part, it's in excellent condition. The only unknowns to me are the mechanicals.
Well, and the thought process keeps going through my mind is, and I don't disagree with you guys. It's such a nice piece of property and it's in great condition and all of this and that and whatnot, and yet nobody wants it.
Well, in its present state.
They don't want the lot.
Yeah,
The reason it's not
One of the
marketable.
things I thought about was, why don't we deed it over to Keyway Management and then it's theirs. And they own it.
Some more conversation, Paul. All right, thanks, guys.
Can we schedule on the agenda next week to discuss real estate and possible litigation?
Possible.
I had a issue on that and we'll discuss
Separate from this.
on
oh,
this
yeah,
area.
Swing that chair around, put your leg up.
no, after he sits down, it would really hurt.
Well, that's true, good. Okay, real quickly, Ed's still here. Discuss and consider abatement of taxes for Jackson Point. There is a resolution somewhere.
Why would we do this now?
Why?
Why?
Well, because they didn't get paid.
Huh,
And so it's just there. If we don't wanna,
I don't know what Joe thinks, but I don't want to do that now.
I
okay,
don't either.
he doesn't need it, so that's good. Fine, perfect. Discuss and consider concrete work with Jackson Point. I bet you, I know, that's gonna go as well.
I would imagine you're correct.
Okay. Perfect. Discuss and consider office hours. And there should be a schedule, or not schedule, well, yeah, schedule, but a previous schedule of days gone by. Hey.
It's gonna be something bigger that time.
Oh, righty.
Are you, you anticipate any minutes for me to be around? I need to go see the assessor on another one.
No, I don't know.
Cause it's the last thing there.
The only reason I brought this up was, oh,
It was
I know I'm the one that opened
in the bills.
it. Sorry,
No, it's like your name.
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
I just, brought the hours up because I realized there have been 2, even 3 supervisors here at a time. And so I guess, and sometimes I was as guilty as you guys were about being in here. I just think that, we need to be above reproach, and I've said that before, we've gotten an opinion from Elizabeth, and we've gotten an opinion from Pat McAvan prior. So why would we go against what the attorneys are thinking?
So I don't have any problem with office hours at all. But I will make the point that I still will probably come in every day at the very least to check my email, because I don't take county emails on my phone or on my personal email. I don't do it. If I need something, I'll print it out. Now, I will qualify that by saying, when I go to an RPA meeting, I put the agenda on my phone because they don't print out agendas, but I truly do not mind being in here. I'm not in here 8 hours every day, but I generally come in the morning and leave at noon and come back. 1:30, 2 o'clock, instead of 4 or so.
You know,
Other than mornings where I have meetings or afternoons where I have
sure.
meetings.
And sometimes you probably do Zoom in here as well.
Yeah, ECI and stuff.
It's like I said the other day, I'm very flexible on this. I just want to see us be a little more transparent.
Well, I do all of my business on that computer, county business over there. I don't do anything on my phone. So I've got to come in to do that. I wasn't here on Friday, so I missed out on a lot of stuff that come in on Friday. And also I'm semi-retired, but I work at home every day too. And I don't want to come in here and just sit half a day for nothing. I want to be able to come and go, because I have a lot of meetings to go to, and I'm not in favor of office hours. That's my thought on it.
You know, and I can see Joe's point. I just don't want 2 people in here or 3 people in here at the same time. I just don't.
Yeah.
You know, we've
So-
gotten an opinion from that. And so you don't get any of these on your phone?
I get noticed that I've got emails come in, but I don't answer them or anything.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I come in here to do
You come in
this.
to answer them then?
Yes, I do.
Because I get them on my phone, and a lot of times I will answer them on my phone.
I try not to.
Yeah, I know. I have gotten some emails from you and you know, in the evening, in the morning early. So I doubt if you're in here long. I just want us to be above reproach. And like I said, we can be very flexible. Call me up, Susie. I know it's your time, but I want to go in for this morning. Okay. I'm easy.
So if I have to be in town and you're in here, you don't want me coming in to do stuff, I'll have to make another trip in. Is that what you're saying?
No, Joe, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, that's the way I'm reading it.
Well, then, did you just hear me say, all you have to do is say, hey, and I'll leave.
So if
It's
you're in
okay.
here, I call and tell you I'm coming in, you
All right,
have to
listen,
leave.
Joe, I will say right now, how about, I don't come in here when you guys are here, so I have no access to this place, but I am the one that's doing the ethical thing. Is that what you want?
Whatever you want to say.
Joe, we've gotten 2 opinions from 2 attorneys. I'm not gonna go get that.
So what's wrong with me sitting there doing my emails if Lee's over there?
Because you
doing
guys are
this stuff?
talking.
So,
I've
we're
had.
talking about family. Okay.
Joe, I've told you this, but I've had complaints from folks that work in here, not in this room. But I'm just trying to keep us above board.
Do whatever you want then. I didn't sign up for being certain office hours, so.
I would think constituents kind of like a regular, or at least somebody here.
Oh, yeah, I think that's right.
We have our cell phones now, so.
Yeah, well, we do get, and I will say
We get
this, and this
walk-ins.
is one of the reasons I try to be here as much as I am, because people come in, in fact, I actually technically was county business, but not supervisor business, but I had a constituent come in the other day looking for me to do an address. In fact, we talked to him.
Oh, sure.
And so they do come in looking for us. I've had people come in looking for you when I'm sitting in here. And I don't mean that anything other than they'll stick their head in and I go, can I help you? Oh, I was just looking to see Susie. You know, and I was probably just to have a conversation, but
Mhm.
I do think that there needs to be somebody in the office, and I'm probably the most flexible of all of us as far as that project goes, because I'd like to get the hell out of the house. That's, you know. I don't, what I don't want for any of us is to be labeled as not being available,
Absolutely.
you know. So, and I realize we got our cell phones and stuff, don't misunderstand, and they never stop ringing, I understand that, but I mean, I also think it's important when somebody walks in and they stick their head in and Susie's here, they physically see that, or they physically see you, or they physically see me. So I think it's important to each of us that our constituents do see us in that regard. So I said, if I'll come in every day in the morning till 11, somebody could come in until 1, and I'll come back in at 2, whatever you want to do.
So why don't we think about this over the weekend or over the weekend?
Because
I think it's doable. I just think we need to be flexible.
And like she said, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to attend it, but normally I have at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a Zoom meeting with early childhood on Mondays.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I'll send you a Christmas card. Although we're changing, we do have a letter on the day's agenda about accepting, become a district, which in a few months that will take effect after everything. But anyway, neither here nor there.
So we could set it up and just be here for a couple hours of the day or something, not have to spend a half a day in here.
And if you don't want to, you set
Yeah.
up any way you want to.
Just, yeah, I agree with that.
And 90% of the time I'm available now. Thursday mornings, this week, I've got meetings in Atomo on Thursday morning, so I'm not here in the morning. Wednesday, on the second Wednesday of the month, I'm in Mount Pleasant in the mornings. I have a doctor's appointment this week. I won't be here in the morning, but I plan on, well, I won't be here first thing in the morning, but generally when I come back from Burlington, I stop in.
Lee, what do you think about next Monday? Before we leave, we just kind of tell each other what we're doing for that day, so we know we're gonna be here. So that way I don't step on your guys' toes.
And
I think-
and the other issue is, as I pointed out the other day, we have to be flexible in this regard, attorneys notwithstanding. When I'm dealing with Jackson Point, I don't have the luxury of not being on that email every day. Okay, I just don't, and I'm not gonna do that.
And nobody's saying you're doing.
No, and I get that.
Yeah.
It's just, the point is that those are things that I don't want to,
Mhm,
frankly.
mhm.
I've tried to get Christie to take it over and she just smiles.
You know,
I
she's really a
smile.
smart person.
Yeah, I
She
know,
is.
yeah. So anyway, however, like I said, if
Then I say,
Susie wants to come in well, like say, for example, Dick Reed always had Mondays after the board meeting.
Mhm.
It was just always what he did.
I can take Monday mornings.
Yeah. Mondays are a little more flexible because we're on the agenda and
Yeah.
until you adjourn.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just
I
think
just
about
think
it.
every Monday we just say, I will say this is when my meeting started this week. I can be here, and here. If you guys have a problem with that, I'll switch it around. We just need to work together and I think it'll work out.
There's also an option of the basement, or if there's another room, you wanna just come check your emails. Somebody comes in, I need a supervisor here, we can say, oh yeah, let me have them come down or something.
Yeah.
I can go over to wrap the auditor's office,
That helps with the flexibility, Christie.
at least a specific person in the auditor office. Storm chaser. She's famous now. Did you know that? Then people come in and vote the other day that, well, you're the one that, yeah, I'm the one. Then she gets out her 8x10 glossies that are autographed and hands them out. So. Okay, I don't know what the hell I did with my agenda, but maybe it's sports, I think.
Yeah, we are. And Simcoe, we had our quarterly meeting, not much is going on. I will say that since Judy Ham has passed away, the city has not replaced her on the Semco board. Which is too bad, because it gives us a little more.
So haven't, are they, what do you call it? Swearing in the new,
I think she's,
They did it.
I know, but nobody's been to Semco yet. Semco guy didn't, Bill didn't know about it, so
They got it, because otherwise it's too late.
oh, okay.
So,
What was the swearing in, you mean?
yeah, I don't wanna know.
Okay. Well, I couldn't tell you anyway.
Of course, Extension Council is not one of the committees, but we're getting ready for trunk or treat on Friday night. Every year it increases. It's gonna be a nice day, a little chilly. Last year we had 1,300 people.
Bob's going to Santa Claus.
Huh?
Bob's going to Santa Claus.
Who's Bob? Bob?
Yeah, right next to Terry.
Oh, he's going as Santa Claus, okay. But if you've never been out there, it's fun.
My bad.
Yeah, yeah. And that's other than a doctor, that's my thing. Other than
Joe. Would you get a new book?
Yeah, in
Wow.
January.
Oh, you just never opened it in front of us before.
Oh,
No,
I'm
he's opened
sorry.
it before.
I'm sorry. So I went to meet the candidates over there at the Civic Bell Wednesday night. And they had the two mayors for the two candidates for mayor talked, and then Zach Weigel presented about the bond issue for the school. So that's about all I did last week.
Well, I'd like to say that it was a short week, as far as most committees, but dealing with Jackson Point, as you're well aware of, but I want to point out we have a new funding mechanism for the veterans rides. It's a GoFundMe account. I put it out, put it in the board, and AJ is going to put it on the bulletin board at radio station and then Tom, all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so we're moving forward on that, which next, no, not till, November 7th, going over, meet with Ellis on the radio station, and I guess about an hour. And this would be something that you all would be more than welcome to do, so like you used to.
So
do
what radio
spotlight
station
shows.
are you gonna be on?
Well, I assume at KBIZ studio.
Does that mean Margie's gonna have him?
Ellis will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
And they know that you're gonna be there, they only allow an hour? That's all.
yeah, I know, well, only had 20 minutes when we were doing the spotlight show.
Yeah.
So, but in other words, this was set up so that, we can switch off, so all three of us are, we just need to you need to let me know before November 7th who the next one will be for the next date.
Mhm.
So, and it's at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it is in person, because I asked him if we zoomed in or called in or whatever. No, it's in person, so.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's available.
When you're done, I'm gonna say something else.
Okay, I assume the attorneys are going to follow up on my question. The reason this came up was, if you're familiar, we had a section of ground surveyed off over there by the ambulance base to repair the driveway. Well, I'll just put the monkey on my back. I misunderstood what the bank hierarchy was thinking. I knew that they wanted to do business with us. I didn't realize that it was tied specifically to deeding over the property. If they didn't get the business, they weren't going to deed it over at no charge. So the point is that we did have this, we have had it surveyed. We don't have an answer yet about whether or not we can put public dollars into private property. And this would be private property at this point. So the other question I have with the board is whether or not you allowed me to pursue this process before the monkey wrench got thrown into it. I had not reached back out to him since, because what our treasurer does is our treasurer reaches out to all of the financial institutions in the county. And they submit bids and what the interest rate is that they're willing to pay for our deposits. And we have a local bank that was the highest one, and it didn't happen to be the one next to the Agnes space. And so that being said, I haven't reached out to see whether or not they'd be willing to sell off that piece of ground. I don't know whether or not you want me to do that, or whether you want to wait and see whether or not we can, and I don't know that they'll let me fix the driveway. Any, since it belongs to them. And even if we could, I don't know that they would let us.
Oh, please don't make my property better.
Well, but then it drives their property tax up. I don't know that they're that,
And look what does the ambulance.
huh?
Can they still drive out? That's their
They can
driving.
drive out, coming in it's a,
Oh, it's terrible.
yeah. And then, so what you'd end up having to do is they'd swing around in the street and back in from the front, which is certainly not impossible, but it is more conducive to running into the,
Safety issue.
yeah. So I have, again, not reached out, I've not sent an email, not done anything in this regard as to whether or not they would be willing to come up with a cost.
Hey, Lee.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, so I did, just for complete disclosure with everybody, I did reach out to them, and when I talked to Mike, same guy you talked to, he did say that his goal is to do business with us. There was some other verbiage in there that was not relevant, but he was given an opportunity, or rather Washington State Bank was given an opportunity, and I did what he asked in regards to giving that property. So when you do talk to him, as far as I'm concerned, the county did their due diligence and did everything we were supposed to on our end in order to complete this transaction and accept that land.
And I do appreciate it, and I know you did, and you worked with him and or with the bank, and I'm going to reach back out and just, I guess, kind of generically say, so where are we at in this process? And then if he's, because he specifically stated he wouldn't deed the property over until they got the CD. Well, that didn't work out because we have laws we have to follow, that Mark has to follow, and he did. And it worked out the way it worked out, not finding fault with anybody. But I'd like to know what our options as a board might be, but I can't do that without finding out from him first. So. And I wouldn't agree to anything without first bringing it back before the board anyway. And I mean, quite frankly, if he came back and said, yeah, we'll sell it for 100,000, I don't even think I'd bother bringing that back before the board, but my point is that it has been surveyed, so it's just a matter of splitting it off and doing whatever we need to do. So if you're okay with that, I will reach out to them.
I would think they'd come back something reasonable. I mean, if they want to be a community partner, that's a good place to show it.
Well,
Support.
and, you know, I'm sure that, or I'd like to think that he understands that Washington County is subject to the same laws that Jefferson County is subject to, and the processes, so. And you know, everybody was given the same opportunity, so he wasn't, none of the financial institutions had a leg up on the other. It was just, this is what we have, I suppose, I'm gonna say X amount of dollars, and what can you do for us? And they submitted Yeah, we'll give you red ribbons around the old oak tree and I guess that was yellow ribbons, but anyway, it's what it is. So that's all I had. I do have doctor's appointment Friday, Thursday, I have meetings in Ottumwa Thursday morning. Both serve and intended to transit. And, lab on Friday. ECI today, but I gotta get my phone inside whether I'll make that. All right.
I wanted to
Oh,
ask,
yeah. I'm sorry.
is any of you, there's a Fairfield Chamber luncheon, manufacturers luncheon on Thursday. Are you guys going?
I wasn't even aware of it.
The governor's talking,
Thursday,
the governor's
I'll
going to be
be
there
there.
talking.
So that should be put on the agenda, should.
Well, at any rate,
Say that again, Joe,
to,
what'd you say?
well, the only reason Mindy's asking, I think we have to pay to get in $50, but I think it'd be a worthwhile thing to do. I'm gonna go.
I'll be in
told her I'm gonna
Ottumwa,
go.
So,
Yeah, you will be in town during that time.
Yeah, I told her I'd be there too. She called me Friday afternoon to talk about it.
What time, where?
It's at this, over at the Civic Center this time. I believe it starts at 11. Well, let me look at what she said to me.
11 o'clock, Civic Center.
options open, okay.
11 to 1.
Okay, yeah. Abby, thank you so much for putting up with us.
It's a tough job.
She didn't hear a thing.
She really is.
I had your ears covered.
Yep.
Yep, okay. Joe, are you looking at something or wanting to say something or?
Well, I see tonight there's a meeting at the ACT building again about the bond issue that I'm going to attend.
Okay,
So I've got more questions,
okay.
so Zach will probably shudder if he sees me walk in again.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
public comment?
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for
It's nice to
considering
see-
this, taking it seriously.
Pass Van Buren County's approval.
It's nice to see how a meeting should go.
No. Oh.
No. I did. Was up there in support of Joe because I got the same concerns he has. Terry.
Yeah. Tim must have left. I didn't see him go.
we should bring us.
All right. Motion to allow claims and approve reports in the amount of $234,833.65.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Would you kill the son of gas?